So, update before we get going on Jimmy. There was some concern yesterday that we would, it was an internal issue. So we did a bunch of scans yesterday, last night. Seems like we've dodged a big bullet in that regard. So that's good news. We're still doing a couple things this morning. And we'll, kind of make sure we do all the right things here as we go forward. But the prognosis is a lot better than it might have otherwise been. Don't know yet for this week, relatively speaking. So there's a lot still to, I'd say, uncover in that regard. But good news relative to what it might have been. So other than that, got some bumps and bruises, some things like that. Team couldn't come back, Roderick couldn't come back in the game, but other than that, just a lot of bumps and bruises. And as I said after the game, like the fight of our team, had some stretches of good complementary football. Certainly being able to pin them back there at the end, and then play good defense to try to finish the game, and then a good special teams play there to handle the the onside kick after a safety concept. Hunter handled that the way we wanted to, and then there's plenty for us to improve on, obviously, in three phases, so that we can play our best football as we go forward here. So a lot to clean up, a lot to work on. Happy we're doing it after a victory. Again, proud of the way our team competed.
Josh, both Aiden and Brian have shown that they can, acquit themselves well when called upon. Does that change any urgency to get Jimmy back?
I think we'll just, again, protect him for sure, make sure that he's, that we're not putting him at risk. That would never be something we would want to do. So, again, that's going to be a medical thing for us relative to following their orders. Again, very happy that we obviously dodged a bad scenario. We'll just kind of take their advice. We don't even have everything we need yet to make that determination, but the fact that we've played three guys already certainly doesn't hurt. It's not ideal in terms of what you want to do, but they both got game experience. They both have had to operate our offense in critical situations in close games, so that's helpful for them too.
Josh, we've talked about teams stacking the box last week, Green Bay blitz and more. For your offense that you've created, how imperative is it to have the threat of the deep ball for it to be successful?
I think you always want to be able to do that. And at times, we've had opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
We threw it down the field a handful of times yesterday. We hit the one to Trey down the middle of the field, which was a big play there, I think, in the third quarter. And when we missed some other opportunities, so those plays generally come down to a lot of people doing the right thing. You never can predict when you're going to have a really clean opportunity to do that based on what the defense chooses to do, but when they do it, as the Tucker play would show us, when they do that and leave the middle of the field exposed or the deep part of the field exposed, it really comes down to an execution play then. Does the quarterback make a good throw? Does the receiver run a good route? Do they finish the play with the ball? And had some opportunities yesterday. Disappointed we didn't come up with a few more of those. But we're going to keep working on them because they obviously can help us. That cuts out a ton of plays, from a drive. Instead of having to execute, 7 more plays, you get 1. So I take all of them that we can get clearly.
If Jimmy doesn't play, does it come down to simply you think, hey, you should best chance to win, or is there more?
Always. No question. That's all we're about now. This isn't about, anything else. Whatever would give the team the best opportunity to win. So, which may be Jimmy. We'll obviously we'll have to see how that goes.
Yesterday it seemed like early on in the game, you guys kind of had a almost play-by-play rotation at right tackle. Is that something that you had?
No, it was more when we used the jumbo tight end to Sean, we can't keep him in there at tackle after that play.
Okay.
So if he's there was no rotation. It was just when we went with the 2 tackles in the game at the same time, then Thayer had to come out on the next play, because by rule you can't keep him in there and put him back at tackle. So he can't go from an eligible player to an ineligible player and stay in the game. So nothing more than that.
You guys had some pretty long sustained drives, but then got to the red zone and bogged down. You understand what the disconnect or what happened?
There's no
there?
disconnect. It's just it's to me, it's when you get down there, there's a premium on everything we do, and so we had multiple penalties down there that cost us. We had 2 holding penalties and an offensive pass interference that puts you now in 1st and 20 or 2nd and 20, in an area where that's really difficult to overcome. And then we missed some opportunities. We had opportunities. We didn't. Whether it was the running game or the passing game, we just didn't quite capitalize on them. And down there, it's all about details and execution. There's very, very little margin for error. And when you make an error, it usually is, exacerbated, ends up in either a negative play or you're kicking field goals. So we fell behind the sticks, I think 3 times down there in the red zone. And when you do that, it's very difficult to overcome. So, obviously we have to do better. I have to do a better job of trying to get us to play penalty free and be able to capitalize on the opportunities that we have. The good about that is you play good enough to get it down there as many times as you do. Now let's fix that. Let's fix that area of the field. Let's play our best football down there going forward. What does that look like? What's that game going to be? And so in that regard, I'm a glass half full guy, and we're going to try to fix that. We're going to do everything we can to do that. And if we start playing well down there and we're moving the ball, and I thought we played well on 3rd down enough yesterday to get it down there. Now we got to capitalize on our opportunities.
Yesterday, Zamir White kind of had a little bit more of an expanded role, making runs in a couple of plays in the pass game. What kind of went into the process of giving him some more runs?
Yeah, just he's been practicing good, and I think it's always good to get those guys involved in the game, and JJ plays so many snaps, and every once in a while it's a good opportunity to let him come over, catch a breath, and let Zamir go out there and get the football a few times. And he had a great chip on the edge one time on an edge rusher, caught the ball out of the backfield, did his job the right way, and he runs hard when he has it. So I've got confidence in all our skill guys. Our backs, all of them basically contribute in some way, shape, or form. The receivers all had an opportunity to contribute yesterday. The tight ends definitely showed up yesterday in the passing game. So just trying to get as many guys out there that can do something good with the ball in their hands, and he's earned that right.
What do you see that there's clicking better with defense, Patrick Graham assisting players this year as opposed to the last year?
Yeah, I think all those guys, from the staff that simplified some things for us as we looked at ourselves last year. We talked about that in the spring. Really just tried to identify, all right, what do we really need to be, and not what we wished we were, or what do we really need to be with the group of players we have, and what can make them the most productive. And then our guys, the players, have really done a great job of just absorbing the information. We stayed true to who we wanted to be in the spring and the summer. It wasn't perfect right away, but we kind of kept at it, and I think the consistency of the approach and the amount of same as we're trying to carry over each week, and then you sprinkle in a few little wrinkles, but the players have really done a good job of taking ownership of the defense. I feel like we're playing faster, more sure, more connected, less big errors. Again, there's always going to be something, that's football, whether it's a missed tackle or they beat us on a scheme or something like that. But I like the effort we play with. I think we're connected more on defense. We work our butt off. Those guys work their butt off every week to make sure they understand who the opponent is, what they do well, what the strengths and weaknesses of the team that we're playing are, and then try to go out there and play as good of a football game as they can. And I just love the effort that they've competed with the last few weeks. They're on the field at the end, against Green Bay. They're on the field at the end yesterday, with an opportunity to close the show. That's the reality. And so just love the way that they're competing.
How encouraging was it that there was also pressure from the defensive tackles? The interior got a lot of push yesterday.
Yeah, and there was they did a good job of creating some games and picks for each other. Jerry and Adam and Bilal, Jank, They all showed up to some degree in there. That's super helpful, because the guys on the edge get so much attention and so much, just there's bodies here and there trying to put extra protection, and so it gives them opportunities inside. And and also whenever there's something in the face of the quarterback, that always makes everybody's life a little easier. So I thought they were aggressive for 4 quarters. We didn't expose ourselves and let the quarterback just step up and have nobody there in front of him, so he was throwing 7-on-7 a lot. Those guys have been more and more disciplined as the season has gone on, and there was some disruption yesterday within that group.
Josh, when you have confidence like you do in your defense to get stops, how does it make you different as a play caller?
That's a trick question. I know. I think it doesn't. We had the ball in the 4-minute offense there, and we threw the ball a few times in that situation because we felt like they would load the box and they were going to try to go ahead and make it tough. And those plays are always hit and miss at times because you're in the 4-minute offense and you want to try to keep the clock running, but if you throw an incomplete pass, there's a situation where you're actually helping them if they end up with the ball back. But at the same time, you're trying to win the game, So I think for me, just try to, based on the situation, based on the circumstances, based on the opponent, based on how the game is going, based on how we feel in all 3 phases, that's really when I'd say the head coach part of me really has to be in sync with the play caller on offense. And you have to understand the way that we're punting the ball, the way we're playing defense, also the way we're protecting what we're seeing on offense, that might give us an opportunity there in the passing game. And there's a balancing act. We threw it a lot in the 4-minute drive in Denver, to try to win the game there, and we ultimately did, and yesterday it didn't necessarily go our way in terms of being able to capitalize on that. But I think you'd like to be aggressive and win it when you have the ball in your hand as much as possible. And if that doesn't work out, then you keep playing, and I have a lot of confidence in our kicking game. Obviously our punter, our punt coverage, and our defense has definitely shown the ability to do that too.
How much of Devontae's dip in production the last couple weeks do you think has to do with injuries that he's dealing with, and I guess what do you guys need to do to get him more?
You just, I think it's, he's, like I said, he's as tough as they come. I think that's more about us just making sure we're doing all the right things so that he can impact the game the way that he needs to and should, and deserves to. Whether that's through the scheme and or the execution of the play. There's definitely some times where there's no way you can throw it to them based on what they do. There was a couple plays yesterday where there was 3 people running around chasing him, and the Tucker play only happens because the free safety double teams him. You know what I mean? So there's a balance between being very smart with the ball and seeing the defense, and not doing enough to put the ball in his hands. And so this is not the first time that I've gone through this. I've coached a number of receivers that would fall into a category of they're this type of player. Certainly not going to compare all those guys. Randy, Brandon Marshall, Devontae. There's definitely an element, Gronk, of where they take them away sometimes and sometimes they don't, and you just have to really do a good job of being disciplined, because you may only get a few opportunities a quarter, but you got to take advantage of them. And there's some execution that goes along with that on everybody's part, but there's chances, and we need to do a better job.
Sometimes being disciplined may cause some frustration because maybe the ball's not going to him as much as he wants, or any wide receiver for that matter. What's the job for you to kind of manage that with him?
Yeah, you got to do. It's like I said. The truth is that there's opportunities, and so we just got to capitalize on those opportunities and do that. There's a lot of things that go into making it hard for the defense to just stand there and take one player away.
Right.
If you stand there if you stand there and, you know, keep them at one spot the entire time, that's easier to do for them, you know, and so we move them, and we try to do that with a lot of players over time, and you know, this is you know, our issue. We'll keep doing the right thing, coaching it the right way, and trying to get the ball to the right players, and he certainly is at the top of that list.
Yeah, I think it's been 3 games since Max missed a snap. One, how crazy is that? And two,
Crosby?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Max Crosby. Yeah. How crazy is that? And two, is that something you guys have been talking about as a staff and worry about, or is that anything?
You know, we've it is something we talk a lot about, Vic. I would say there's an element of you know, taking the whole week in totality and trying to figure out how do we manage the week so that we get the most bang for our buck in the game. And so sometimes, you know, you've seen, you know, he's been limited, you know, and again, he's dealing with some little things here and there too. But the reality is you know, if you limit certain things during the course of the week so that you get 60-some snaps out of them on game day, then that's the give and take, you know. You know, there might be times where we go ahead and try not to do that as much. I'd say when we have the ball as much as we did in the first half yesterday, that certainly can alleviate some stress on somebody like that in terms of the snap count getting crazy early in the game. I think we had 40-some snaps on offense and 20-some on defense in the first half, which is helpful. So early in the year, that was kind of flipped around on us a little bit. So everything goes into it, but you know, if we needed to take them out, we would certainly do that. The longer the drives go, the more you consider doing that stuff. But obviously, we'd like him out there as many snaps as he feels good about it.
You guys good?
Good to go.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.